What is up, everybody? Brian Hurst coming to you from my home office this morning or this afternoon. And today we're going to be talking about something extremely exciting. It's a question that I get asked a lot about how to invest in real estate. We're going to be talking about that with very special guest warming up in the bullpen, Josh Shoumer, today on the Brian Hurst Show. Well, greetings, everybody. Hope this video finds you well. Back about 6 or 7 years ago, I was driving around in my car and handling some field work, and caught an ad on the radio from a guy who's pretty well known in the world of real estate investing. Had a TV show on cable, and they were promoting a seminar that you could attend to learn how to make tons of money in real estate, investing in real estate, using other people's money. And this, because I sell real estate for a living, it captured my interest. And so I attended. It was a 2-hour seminar here in the high desert. And basically it was an infomercial, a 2-hour infomercial getting you to register for a 2-day seminar that was going to be held down in Ontario about a month later. And so I went ahead and registered. I think it cost me a couple $100. And I brought my wife down there. We booked a hotel room and we spent 2 days going through the seminar. And I have to tell you that it was a fascinating and very informative 2 days. And what we learned over those 2 days is essentially what are the 4 tactics or ways that people invest in real estate. And so I'm going to briefly break the things that I learned at that seminar down for you, define them very quickly. And then we're going to bring in our special guest today to help us to understand it further. So the first way is what they call wholesaling. Now I'm going to bring something in on the screen here, maybe something that you've seen before. I'm going to share the screen. Let's see. Well, hopefully I can share the screen. Yep, there it is. All right, so check this out. Maybe you've ever driven around and you've seen a sign that kind of looks like this, stapled to telephone poles or to stop signs or to traffic signals. These are called bandit signs. And the tactic that is being used here is you drive around, you see this sign and you're thinking, gosh, I need to sell my house. I'm not sure about, going through the process of hiring an agent and marketing the property. So I just want to sell it quick. I want to sell it for cash. I want to get out from underneath the house. And so you call this person. Well, inevitably, the person that answers the phone doesn't have any money. But what they'll do is they will put your house, let's say the after repaired value of the house is $400,000. They're going to want to put your house under contract for essentially 2/3 of that value. So let's say $250,000. And then they will market that property, now that they have you under contract, to somebody else who actually does have money. And they will assign that contract for either a $5,000 or $10,000 wholesaling fee to the other person. So when they close, they'll get $5,000 or $10,000 out of the deal and on to the next one and accumulate enough cash to go to the next strategy in real estate investment, and that's fix and flip. So now, instead of assigning the contract, maybe I actually perform on the contract, assuming I've got enough money. And then I'm going to acquire the property again at 2/3 of the repaired value, invest the $20,000 or $30,000 to fix up the property and resell it for a profit. Now this, we're looking for, obviously a higher margin. You'd like to get at least 10%, maybe 12% out of it to make $30,000 or $40,000 per deal. And do enough of those to where you would move to the next strategy, which would be lease and hold. So then I would be willing to acquire something, not necessarily to fix it and flip it, Maybe my margins are a little better. I'm not looking for 2/3. Maybe I go 70 or 75% or even 80% of the after repaired value. But the strategy here is capitalization rate, which is a whole nother conversation and maybe another show that we do. But you're looking for that annual rate of return on rents to where it's passive income, right? It's income property. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when Josh comes in. And then the last strategy is where you've got enough money where you're actually doing hard money lending, where you're the one lending money to somebody else to do the fix or flip, to somebody else who is doing the lease and hold. So our special guest today is a good friend of mine and a client who is a brilliant man here to teach us more about these 4 strategies. I would like everybody to welcome to the Brian Hirsch Show, my good friend, Josh Shoumer. What is up, Josh?
Brian, glad to be here. Thanks.
How are you, sir?
Been good.
What's the weather today in Los Angeles?
Down here, it's warm. We had a cold snap, but it's mild as it usually is.
Isn't it? Yeah. That's so the whole I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. I don't know if you've heard the opening line, but it's the sun is shining, the grass is green, the orange and palm trees sway. There's never been such a day in Beverly Hills, LA. That's you, right, brother? That's you? Yeah. You're all about it, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a believer.
And you being a Jewish brother, it would be I'm dreaming of a white
Hanukkah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Josh, tell us a little bit about yourself. You and I have gone back now. Gosh, it's been, I think it was 2014.
Yeah.
9 years. Can you believe we've been doing business for 9 years, brother?
It's been a long time, but it's a testament to our success. We're still having at it.
Yes, sir. So tell us a little bit about, you're from Los Angeles. Is that where you grew up?
Yeah, I basically grew up here and then professionally started off as an attorney. Did that for a couple of years and decided to leave. I joined my dad, Saul, who you've met a few times, just managing our family office. And we were doing a little bit of lending, a little bit of apartment managing. And the way you and I met, I had the luxury of unwinding a partnership that had some assets once we stepped in, some homes and some vacant lots. So you and I were able to connect and figure out some of the unwinding of that.
So the family business is real estate management, investing.
Yeah, we'll manage our own apartment buildings, mostly in the South LA area. And then, like I said, we do some lending, whether it be hard money, like you mentioned, or some other unique stuff like commercial equipment purchase lending. So anywhere that we're familiar with and we see an opportunity, that's that's what we do.
And has the law degree helped you with? I mean, because so much of what we deal with in real estate has to deal with laws.
Yeah, that's right. Contract formation at the beginning of a deal. So there's a little bit of help there. Maybe a little more value when issues come up to just understand how to work yourself out of a potential mess. And it helped a little bit in that scenario when we first met, completing these unfinished homes. But I don't lead with it. I try to be more of an investor and someone to help a deal go forward. The attorneys don't always have that reputation. They're deal killers sometimes.
True. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about wholesaling. Wholesaling is not something that you've done a lot of, as far as hanging the bandit signs and generating leads and trying to assign a contract, but you've been on the other end.
Yeah. We've been able to pick up on the buy side a lot of our apartments and a handful of homes in the LA area and Riverside area as well, from these wholesalers, and they come in so many different forms and types and structures, how to deal with them, when they want to get paid, what they'll tell you, what they won't tell you. But yeah, just to be brief about it, we've been buyers from these wholesalers.
Expand a little bit on the wide spectrum of wholesalers. So I'm assuming you've got people that have it down to a science.
Yeah.
and people that don't have the first idea of what they're doing and everything in between.
Yeah, and that usually comes up. We'll be on a list of like an email blast or even a text message or a phone call from a wholesaler. They'll say, hey, we've got this at this price. We'll do a quick underwrite, might take 15 minutes, might take half an hour or a day. But usually when they first reach out and you want to engage, you'll get a sense pretty much quickly whether or not they're professional or they're figuring it out. In one experience I had, the wholesaler wanted to get paid outside of escrow before escrow closed. And that'll make you nervous because you've released a check, your money's gone, but you don't have the property in your name. And then on the opposite spectrum, you have everything very formal. It's all written. Escrow is aware. Sometimes the seller is aware, which is nice. They don't always know that this deal is a wholesale deal, where everything just goes smoothly and it feels like a traditional buy-sell transaction. Anywhere in between.
So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. As a broker, I have a hard time understanding because a wholesaler is essentially doing what I do. They're brokering a deal, right? They're marrying a buyer and a seller.
Yeah.
And they're the middleman taking a cut, which is what real estate brokers do. The difference is they're not allowing the property to be marketed to the widest possible pool of buyers to create competition to generate the highest possible price. What would motivate a seller to go through a wholesaler, answer one of these bandit signs and try to what's the benefit of that?
Well, I assuming the seller is fully informed and they've opted aware of all of the alternatives, I'd say the benefit is a quick sale to savvy investors who aren't gonna spend hours in the home kicking the tires, trying to find problems with the home and use them as leverage for a renegotiation of the price. There's very little interaction with the seller, and so perhaps they might feel that it just becomes an easier transaction. I would take it a step further. I see these wholesalers as just they're arbitragers, and they may be taking advantage of a scenario where the seller may not know what the home is worth.
Right.
So I think more often than not, that's what you find. But if you find a seller who knows, all the information, is voluntarily decided to engage with the wholesaler, it's usually because of speed, cash, and just like a quick close.
I went to that investment seminar that I led in with the opening memo there. And part of their process was, at least they were selling you, is that they're vetting you to see if you're, a match for them. And when I went through that vetting process, the representatives of the company said, you're going to be a great fit for us. But they said something that stuck with me. They said, you're going to have to start to think differently, though.
What does that mean?
Well, I'm going to decode it. What they mean is you're going to have to be willing to rip people off.
Yeah, and that's I think that's, you're getting at what I was getting at as an alternative. If you find an owner who, here's this example with specifics. We found the 4-unit in the Moreno Valley area that was pitched to us for $700,000, and we went in basically same day, walked the property, completely vacant, completely remodeled. It was almost a no-brainer. And so engaging with the agent, I said, you know what? I'll just, let me throw out a number and see what the reaction was. I'll pay 500. Deal, on the spot deal. I'm like, oh, maybe I missed something. I don't know. This was a wholesaler who didn't let me interact with the seller, didn't let me know how much they had tied it up in escrow, and post-closing found out that they had it in escrow at 400. So they had made $100,000 fee. I don't think most deals are this lucrative, but they had made $100,000 fee taking advantage of a seller who was, either abroad or just didn't know. And, someone like us who was willing to commit right away.
Well, obviously from my vantage point, that would be the absolute worst way to sell a house.
Yes.
But, if you're on the other end and you can acquire a property and on an off market deal at a wholesale price, it's fabulous. So fixing and flipping, I think we've maybe done a couple of those, Josh.
Yeah.
That hasn't been a big part of our business together. How much of that have you delved into? And
Uh, Down here in the LA area, we've done that a lot, especially post financial crisis. That was something that kept my father busy before I joined him in
okay,
2013.
okay,
But that was still a thing. There were REOs still in the pipeline, and
mm,
so we were able to get homes that were in really poor condition for good deals. We'd spend some money investing them and invest in them and find a homeowner that would take it on, something that was livable.
right,
So at the time, we really felt like we were doing good work. That has more recently, I'd say, in the last few years, has dried up that pipeline of REOs and
right.
uh,
Well, and I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday. They said, well, I was watching some guy on YouTube or a podcast, and he said that, the whole market is getting ready to crash, the housing market. I said, look, I don't know who it is you're talking to, but they literally do not know the first thing about real estate markets or how it works. Most people don't understand, I think, Josh, or they just are unsophisticated in analyzing whatever's going on. That the real estate market, the pricing is driven by the laws of supply and demand, like every other commodity. So if you go to the grocery store and there's only a handful of people in the store and they have, you know, 500 uh, cases of toilet paper, well, guess what that store is going to do? They're going to mark down the cost of toilet paper.
that's right.
They're going to put it on, they're going to put it up for sale, buy two, get one free or something to move they'll put it on an end cap with a sign. What we have in our market is a supply shortage. And then unfortunately, I don't see how we can dig out of it. We're 15 years and under building. There's no way out. There's no way. Where's the supply coming from? And back in 2008, you had, Josh, when I first came into real estate in 2011, 2/3 of the market were REOs.
Oh, wow.
I mean, dude. So, I mean, if we're moving 500 houses a month, 350 of them are bank owned homes. Then you've got another, handful. I think it was maybe 10% of the market were short sales.
Yeah.
About like 75%, only, maybe 25% were that classic resale equity seller.
Yeah.
Everybody else is distressed. And so during that market, you could find some distressed property with put some sweat equity in it and resell it for profit. But where are you going to go in today's market to find that?
It's a lot harder to find. That's for sure. That's for sure. And
You're not
now,
doing a lot of it anywhere. Probably, I mean, right?
yeah. Yeah. And you and I talk about that all the time, that this concept of a crash, will it come, looking at supply and demand. And, once you look at the numbers, and you've been so helpful over the years, just giving us an idea of within that market that you're in the high desert, letting us know what's going on. Combine that with lending standards post Dodd-Frank. That crash that people saw in '08, I don't see it.
No, you can see a softening just because supply or demand is so much different in today because of the interest rates, but a crash, softening on pricing, adjusting for what today's rates are,
Yeah.
very different than a crash.
Yeah.
So lease and hold, that's your bread and butter.
Oh yeah.
Fix
Down
and
here.
flip, not so much, but lease and hold, particularly down there in the LA area,
That's what we focus on. Yeah, we target what we call value add multifamily housing here in South LA. Something that might have been undermanaged, not cared for by the previous owner. Rents are low. So a common strategy might be to acquire that for what we think might be a good deal, and then engage with tenants. We've got rent control down here in LA, pretty robust version of rent control. And so the only way to get the market rent or get the rent of a particular unit back up to market rates would be for a tenant to leave. And so we've got to engage with them and see if we can find a win-win where they voluntarily move out, usually pay them a relocation fee, and after rehabbing the unit, find someone who will pay market.
Can you touch on rent control real quickly, what that looks like, and what that define it for us, for the audience?
Sure. In short, it's just a cap on the annual amount that you can increase rent. So here in the city of LA, in any multifamily building built before 1979, historically the maximum has been 3 or 4% a year, almost regardless of what inflation has been doing. Then you compound that existence of the rent control scheme with the COVID protections in place from the outset of COVID through February of 2024, which is coming up in a year from now. No rent increases for those buildings. So in this environment where everything is going up, insurance rates, utilities, landlords have got to pay for insurance, they got to pay the water. In some cases, common area gas and electric, you name it. Our costs have been going up, but we haven't been able to pass that on via rent increases since March of 2020. When it's all said and done, about 4 years of static rents. It's been tough, but that's the environment we operate in.
So when you're analyzing an opportunity to acquire, and again, what we're hoping to do is educate our audience on, there's a lot of people that, because they hear the same commercials that I just described to you. They're driving around the road. They hear the guy say, this is so-and-so from Fix This House, Flip This House, and I'm going to be in your market, and you can learn how to invest in real estate and make millions of dollars using other people's money, right? So it sounds good.
Yeah.
I have clients all the time that say, we're thinking about maybe renting our house out. Or maybe they're thinking about acquiring a duplex or a fourplex. What are we looking for in an opportunity? You're going to take a look at rents, and you're going to take a look at how much you're investing and what the rate of return is and your expenses and so on and so forth. What number are you trying to hit?
If you're getting at in terms of like a rate of return, some of those numbers that you had mentioned earlier in the 10 to 15%, out here in LA, that cap rate, which is a measure of the return on your investment, you won't get those numbers. Those are too high. You might see 4 to 6% on a good deal down here in LA. That's just like the brief metric to say, how profitable can this be? But then there are so many layers on top of that where, can I buy out a tenant and re-rent it at market rate, in which case income is higher, your return is higher, but you don't know, you don't have a magic ball going into a deal saying, where can I get this? You've got to hope in many cases and pray that things don't go wrong. So there are so many factors beyond that. But in terms of rate, 4 to 6 on a South LA kind of a deal is very common.
Well, and so what I've discovered too, Josh, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you take one of the outlying areas here in the desert, and it's an older unit. Maybe it's 30 or 40 years old. It's maybe a little dilapidated. It's in an area of the community that's considered by most to be less desirable.
Okay.
And there's a price and what the people are paying in rents there. And you contrast that opportunity with maybe somewhere in the nicer part of town. It's a newer unit. It's been well kept. Maybe in that nicer part of town, because it's less risk, I'm willing to take less of a rate of return.
Yeah.
And if it's in the part of town that's not so nice, I want it to be a little more lucrative. I want 10% there where I'm willing to take 5% somewhere else.
Yeah.
Does that sound?
That's spot on. That's spot on. Our approach internally here is, over the years, since we've gotten comfortable with those risks that might come in a rougher area, we tend to focus there because we're comfortable and we feel like we're good at mitigating. But, perhaps if I was talking to a new investor who wanted to get into something but didn't want to expose themselves to some of those higher risks, you're spot on. Getting a unit in an area that is desirable, that might have low turnover, higher income tenants who are more stable. That might be a better, safer recipe. But again, the trade-off is perhaps a lesser return because you're going to have to pay a little bit more to acquire that.
Wow. Okay, that's fascinating. Okay. So last question before we get you out of here, Josh, and I have to say thank you on a number of levels. I am a better business person. I'm smarter. I'm more sophisticated because of my relationship with you.
I appreciate you saying that. And it goes both ways. Over the years, we've spent, just underwriting some of these vacant lots that we've built over the last 9 years. I wouldn't have any of the comfort that I have investing in the high desert if it weren't for you. And so
Oh, you're
that
too kind.
appreciation comes back all the way, my brother.
Awesome. So hard money lending, people probably that aren't in this line of work would not know what that means. Can you define it for us and just walk us through what a hard money loan looks like?
A hard money loan is almost like a very little questions asked type of loan. We won't do much underwriting on the property or the borrower. So you'll get a quick approval. You can call a hard money lender like us or someone else and get an approval in a day. Usually you'll get 65 to 70% loan to value. And so that's what the lender is underwriting is, what do we think it's worth? The trade-off for not asking you so many questions about your income and your employment and the income of the property, for example, is that you're going to pay a higher interest rate. Those loans usually come in 1-year terms. Those are the most common, with interest-only payments. You're not having to pay down principal during that term. That gives you, as usually, again, it's a product that is designed for real estate professionals. You want to minimize what your cash outlay to service this loan so that you can focus more on improving this property and flipping it, and then using the sale proceeds of what you flip to pay off our loan. It's a very quick, easy loan targeted towards the investor.
And so when you hear the ads, my name is so-and-so, and you've seen me on Fix This House, and I'm going to be in your area today and all that. And they say, learn how to make tons of money investing in real estate, quote, using other people's money.
That's it.
This is what they're alluding to, really, right?
I mean, you can get more complicated from there, but the easiest one is going to a hard money lender who will help you with a quick acquisition and let you take off. There are other options. There are joint ventures where you can bring on an equity partner. We've done some of that. So you can get, you can be as creative or as little creative as you want to be. But yeah, the bottom line is, if you want to be in real estate and you don't have cash, it's not a insurmountable hurdle. You can get in and, with sweat equity, so they say.
All right. Well, the idea, what they're pitching you at the seminar I went, is you're going to start building. So you can start with wholesaling. You're going to, build up $100,000 or $150,000, do, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deals at 5, 10,000 a pop.
Right.
Now I've got 150 grand. Sorry about that. In cash, stored away. And then I can contact somebody. I can, spot a deal. Maybe it's from a Bandit Sign, an opportunity, and then do hard money, right? So I can acquire the property, and then I call you and I say, okay, I've got 150,000. The acquisition price is going to be 300,000. We're looking at another 30 or 40 grand in repairs.
Right.
Then we're going to market the property and sell it. It's going to be a 4-month project. I need $200,000 in hard money. You fund that portion of it. I make interest only payments until we close escrow, at which time the principal is paid back. So you're going to have that as part of the escrow instructions, I presume, right?
Yeah. Well, we've got a lien on the property, and so when the new buyer is coming along, we can trust escrow to ask us for a payoff, and we'll get that loan paid off that way via the new buyer's loan proceeds, or maybe they're a cash buyer.
Fascinating. Well, Josh, again, thank you so much. I'd like to have you on another time to talk to us a little bit. One of the questions people, it's a conversation I have a lot, is about Section 8. And this is something that you're well versed in. You can help people understand, get their heads wrapped around how it all works. But you're a wealth of knowledge, a treasure trove of information, and a good friend. And so I just want to again say thank you. And we hope to have you on again soon.
I'd love to. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Have a great President's Day, my friend.
You too. Take care.
There he is, everybody. Josh Shoumer. He is unequaled. And again, so much of who I am is because of him. So let's get to the market update for the high desert. This is week of February 20, 2023. Last 30 days sold 219. Again, a slow market, right? We're looking for 400 to 500 a month is our normal absorption rate in the desert. So we're about 50% off from what would be considered normal, even in the slower time of the year, which is, we're still, when the time changes, that's when things kind of kick back up. So, we're at least 100 homes off the mark. Median sale price has not changed over the last week. $390,000 is our median sale price. So year over year, same period in 2022, that would be January 20th to February 20th, there were 266 homes sold at a median sale price of $405,000. So we're down roughly 18% in the number of homes sold, and we're down about 4% in our median sale price. In escrow, 426. So we got about 2 months worth of supply right now in escrow. So that number is actually improving a little bit. It's an 8% increase since last week. So any agents watching this, you're doing your job, getting out there selling houses. Good job there. And active listings, this is the number that just blows me away. 838 homes sold. We're going to have on Mike Arias at some point from Chicago Title. His number is always a little different. He's always about 15 or 20% higher than me. But the reason is because these are only single family residences that we're considering here. And they're only in the 6 cities: Victorville, Apple Valley, Hesperia, Adelanto, Phelan, and Oak Hills. 838 homes. You guys, that is, remember what it was like 3 years ago going to Target and trying to buy freaking paper towels or toilet paper, and there's nothing on the shelves? That's what the housing market looks like. It's incredible. We're down 4% since last week. So we have this weird market condition where supply is down and demand is down. Current interest rate markets are closed today. So this is as of Friday. This is kind of your garden variety FHA 30-year fixed somewhere between essentially 6 and 7%. So those rates have jumped up a little bit and is curtailing demand. Appreciate you guys. Hope that you will like, share, and subscribe. This is what really helps us to keep the show going. And looking forward to next week, where we'll have another episode of the Brian Hirsch Show. In the meantime, have a fabulous week, and we will talk to you again soon.